Good morning. I didn't want to read it, but I probably have to read it. So first off, let me extend my gratitude to you all for this opportunity. And this is a first for me. I'm not a speaker. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a educator. I am really just someone on a spiritual path. I have no formal training in speaking to anybody. So this is my first experience speaking in front of a group, and I can't believe the amount of people here today. I'm like totally freaked out. So, yes, I'm from Cuba, but I was raised in a very Catholic tradition, and I always had a very close relationship with God. I do read the Bible. I love the biblical stories, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And although I did feel a closeness to God, I always felt something was missing. Something wasn't right. I didn't know what it was, but I just didn't think maybe I wasn't worthy to receive his love that I did feel strongly I would be receiving. So on my quest in 2010, I started attending quite a few of the Hay House conferences. I was in attendance when Anita Moriarty spoke about her book, Dying to Be Me, where she explains her near-death process and her battle with cancer that really took the physical body, and then she came back from it. It's an amazing story if you've never read it. I've heard Dr. Brian Weiss speak a couple of times, and I've read his book, his Many Lives, Many Masters, and I was very intrigued with past lives and past lives regression. And then another speaker that I saw quite a few times was Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he would always quote, in ACIM, they say this, in ACIM, they say that. I mean, he had wonderful teachings as well, but I was always taken back by his talking about A Course in Miracles. So one day, like 2011, I'm driving down US 1. I was on the corner of Atlantic Boulevard and US 1, which is just really beautiful part of Delray Beach where I lived at the time. And there was this old white two-story building on the corner. I stopped by the red light and I looked up in the window and there was this huge piece of wood with big black 2-3 inch or 2-3 feet letters, big black, saying A Course in Miracles. Yeah, so that to me seemed like this is really a sign. This is like a literal sign. So I did get the book and I did read it many, many times. I've read it probably 8-10 times. It has a workbook of lessons that are one lesson each day of the year. I've gone through the workbook twice. And if anyone's ever read Course in Miracles or attempted to read it, it really is the first couple of times like reading Chinese or something. It's just out of this world. But I kept going with it. And I kept studying it and I kept trying to just delve into it. And I also started meditating. Meditation, I think, was like a real gift to me. And when I first started, I didn't think I could last 5 minutes. And most of last year, I was really meditating 2, 3, 4 hours each morning. I just loved it. COVID really gave me that opportunity. So that was kind of a good thing for me. So then if I fast forward to January of 2020, last year as COVID started, the pastor at the spiritualist church I was attending in Delray Beach did ask me to start teaching the Course in Miracles. So we set up the first class for the second Sunday in January. And we were just going to do the class by donation. Whatever donations we got from the participants in the class were going to go to the church. And I kind of thought, maybe this is my calling. Maybe this is what I was supposed to study. So I really delve into that. So when I got there that first Sunday to teach, I also offered to volunteer to be the greeter on the Sundays I was going to teach because we were going to have a class right after service. So I was going to be the greeter. So the first Sunday when I went there to greet, the woman that was supposed to be there didn't show up. So I figured, I'm going to greet people. I greeted them. I told them about the class at the end, the Course in Miracles, told them to come in. That it was a beginner's course. You didn't have to be versed in it or studied in it. And we did have probably like 5 or 6 of us attended that first day. And we had a really good discussion. So then on the fourth Sunday when I was scheduled to teach, I got there early again, and again, the woman didn't come. And this was the end of January 2020. She had this horrible lung infection. Anybody want to say COVID? So I'm sure she had COVID. But people that did arrive that Sunday was a woman named Robin who had been in the previous class. And she walked in with her husband. And she actually walked in with two gentlemen. One was an older gentleman, and the other one was about her age. So I assumed the younger gentleman was her husband, and the older one was maybe her father. And the older one indicated that he needed to use the restroom, so she stayed in the lobby and talked while he went in to use the bathroom. So the three of us spoke, the gentleman that I thought was her husband and her and I. And then when the other gentleman came out of the bathroom, they went into their seats in the chapel, and this other guy stood there. And I asked him if he was going to go sit with his friends or his family, and he said no, he was new to the church. This was his first visit. And then I'm standing there, I was feeling, pretty embarrassed, and I apologized, of course, and welcomed him to the church. Here I am, the greeter, and I'm assuming something different. So we did start talking, and he told me he was a snowbird. He was down from Ohio, and that he was an author of a book, and his book was about past life regressions. And he said he had some copies of the book in his trunk, and he would give me one after the service. So after service, we went to his car to get the book, and we actually ended up going to lunch that day. And we sat in the restaurant for like 2 or 3 hours just talking about regressions. And I explained to him that I had a really strong feeling, a deep guilt that I carried for the crucifixion of Jesus. And maybe I was one of the Roman soldiers that crucified him. Maybe I just needed to find this path and figure this out. Maybe if I could apologize. I didn't know what it was. I just felt it was really a strong feeling in me. So I asked him if he would regress me, and he said, sure. So we made a plan for him to come to my house the following weekend. So when he got there, he explained the process to me, what it would be like, how we would go through the process, what the steps would be, that we were going to discover some past lives of mine before we delve into my questions, and that he was ultimately going to take me to a place that he termed Frank's place. And he explained the layout and what it looked like to me. And he said I would meet and interact with family members that have had passed on, and friends that had passed on, and anyone I wanted to speak with, basically. So the entire time of the regression that Saturday morning was about 3 hours. But the time that we did the regression was about an hour and a half. And in that hour and a half, I was taken to several lives. And then at the suggestion, actually the name of the person that did the regression was Frank, the gentleman in the lobby that day. So Frank made a suggestion to me in a meditative state that we were going to go to Jerusalem at the time of the crucifixion, mainly because of my explanation that I felt responsible for the crucifixion. So here's a little tape of that regression. So this is Frank. We're walking up the road. What do you see? And then Ginny. It's a marketplace, and there's people everywhere. There's vendors and stalls. Frank, are we on the outside of the walls of Jerusalem or the inside? Ginny, we're on the outside of the walls. Frank, before we do anything more, there is a vendor, and he has a bucket of water next to his stall. Why don't you go to that bucket and look at your reflection? This is who you were in that past life. Describe yourself. What do you see? I'm young, curly, dark hair, dark eyes, and I'm short. Frank, let's go to the gate. Ginny, it's Palm Sunday. He's coming to the city. It's Jesus. Now, Frank, this isn't the whole regression. These are just pieces of it. So then Frank says, 1, 2, 3, we're going to go to the next relevant event in Jerusalem. What is happening? So Ginny and I started crying at this point. They're holding him down on the cross. A Roman soldier took a mallet and a big nail. Those metal nails are humongous. You wouldn't believe that they would pound those into a human. It's effing horrible. And the soldier goes to hit his left hand with the mallet and lifts his hand to strike Jesus, and their eyes meet. And the soldier stops. He can't do it. He can't nail him to the cross. He lays down his mallet and he walks away. Another soldier must do it. The first soldier walks off and he gets killed by his commander. So if they killed one of their own, they would definitely have killed me if I'd said something, but I should have said something. Frank, there's nothing you could have done to change anything. Ginny sobbing, I let them kill him. He didn't deserve this. He was a good man. Next, the regression session, we move forward. Now we're going to what he called Frank's place. So this is the part of the experience where you can, this part of the process you experience through a death, through your death, through seeing your death, you rise, the body rises, and that's how you get to this place. And then this is where you get the discussion directly. So Frank, he says, it's time, we're moving on. We're going to the last day of your life. 1, 2, 3. We're there. You breathe your very last breath. Your soul rises from your body. You see the white light and you float into it. What does it feel like? Ginny. Oh, it's wonderful. It washes over you so clean. It's sensational. Frank, do you see anyone? Ginny, I see my father. And my father and I had a great conversation that day. And he actually did advise me to reach out to a relative who was experiencing difficulties at that time. Then Frank says, I'm opening 2 double walnut doors. There's a large table. And he says to me, who's sitting at the table? Frank is also a channeler. So he had previously channeled the spirit of Jesus to find out if he'd be there when we arrived. And he told Frank that he would be, but I didn't know this. So this is going back to the channeling. Ginny, it's a man. Frank, what does he look like? Ginny, he's got long dark hair. Frank, beard or no beard? Ginny, a beard. Frank, why don't you go sit with him? Do you know who it is? Ginny, it's Yeshua. Yeshua is a reference to the family name that he was given when he was the son of Joseph and Mary. And it's not a reference I would have used. I didn't refer to him as Yeshua. I referred to him as Jesus. The name Jeshua actually was new to me at this point. So Frank, yes, it is. Why don't you hold his hands? Ginny, he says, it's been a while. Frank, yes. Ginny, he says, all this has been for me, not for him. He's saying, now I am freeing you, my sweet. I'm always here. Whatever you need, just ask. How can I help you today? Can I really ask him a question? Frank, of course you can. That's why we're here. Ginny, this just seems so bizarre. Frank, it's not bizarre. Just ask your question. Ginny. So I turn, as I ask, can I come home from this life? Do I have more to do? Frank, what does he say? Ginny, he says, be open to receive. To receive, forget what you think you know. You think that you know, but you don't know anything. The all brings us here to teach us what we think we know. Your study of the Course in Miracles has brought you close enough to the knowledge, but you're not letting it in. You're not opening. You're still closed. Open your throat chakra. Open your third eye. Open, open, open. When that happened, Jesus really did open my throat chakra, my third eye. And as a result, there was, Frank says, or actually you can hear it on the tape, there was a change in my voice and my countenance. Now Jesus speaking through me. It is Yeshua. She does not believe it is me. Frank, is it you? Now realizing I really was channeling the spirit of Jesus. Jesus, it's confusion, confusion. Then I came back through, there's no way. Frank, yes, Ginny, you were part of the story 2,000 years ago, and now we're closing the circle. You have a purpose in this. You're important. You have a job to do. That's him. Don't you feel worthy? Ginny, no. Jesus, speaking to me and through me. Always know who you are. I will always lead you where you have to go. I will always be here with you. What is the prayer I taught you, my darling? Remember, it goes, I am as God created me. Frank, now realizing that I actually was channeling Jesus and he had access to Jesus, took the opportunity to ask for instructions for himself. Frank, Master, do you have any further instructions for me? Jesus, Son, you can only receive and give what you have given. You are giving what you are given, but you are not receiving it. This message was a parallel message that Frank had received 3 weeks earlier. Frank, that's true. Jesus, your heart is closed. Your heart is closed. Open your heart. You see the struggle that Ginny is going through? Frank, yes. Jesus, and you are too. Frank, thank you, Master. Jesus says, now remember, my son, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Then Jesus concludes our channeling prayer, he offers us a prayer. He said, grace be unto you. My peace I give you. I always walk in the shining glory of the radiant Father. I always know the truth comes from within, for there is nothing, nothing without. Shante, Shante, Shante to all. And with that, the Spirit of Jesus left me, and I was brought out of that hypnotic trance. When I opened my eyes, Frank and I looked at each other in stunned amazement at just what had happened. I had channeled the Spirit of Jesus. Not only that, I confirmed I was another incarnate soul during the biblical time period, and I was a witness to the crucifixion. So Frank was scheduled to go back to Ohio in a couple of weeks, but he decided he was going to rent a condo in Delray Beach so him and I could continue working through the year. So Frank flew back to Ohio to gather some things he needed. And while he was in Ohio, Yeshua took the opportunity one morning and he woke me at like 4:30. And he gave me a channeled message that lasted about 35 minutes. But here is just a small piece of that channeled message. Good morning. Blessings and welcome to our newfound channeler in her attempt to assist in the process. That is, I might say, a revelation for this channeler, for this friend of ours, this beloved soul who agrees to be part of this new, the up and coming and the changing. Change is coming. It's on the wind. But let's let it flow and follow the path it needs to follow. We all need to understand that as one being, you are right. You can do nothing. But always remember, as I told you, when I walk among you, there is one. Where there is one, I will be. And where there is two, will be the kingdom of God. Always know this. Always feel this. Always accept this as your truth. There is your path. There is what enlightens your life. And it brightens your path and allows you to walk the walk that is needed. I'm here to speak to anyone present, anyone willing to listen, anyone who is willing to know and trust and understand and have much to do. And we have much to do in your linear concept, perhaps not a lot of time as you would consider it. But that does not mean that you have only 2 months to go, dear children. You do have to start awakening more and more to the understanding that change is occurring and that it is for the best, for the betterment of all, for the ability to bring through a better life for anyone who requests it. We want to help any way we can. That is why we've asked this vessel, Ginny, to please allow Yeshua to come through. And with that agreement, I am here and wish to help any soul that needs help. So in the following weeks, when Frank did return from Ohio, and of course, due to COVID, the company I was working for sent me home. So working from home gave me the opportunity to start concentrating more and more on my meditations and more working with Frank. So in subsequent in sessions from February through September of 2020, I discovered my identity in that life. I was called Salome, and I was the youngest child of Joseph and Mary, youngest sister of Jesus. I was born in Egypt before the family went back to Nazareth. It also became clear through the sessions that in that lifetime, I hid my identity as a female since women were not allowed to study nor would they be allowed to sit with Jesus and the disciples. I also learned I was romantically involved with Judas, even though he was married to another woman. And this involvement, it was what led me to have greater details leading up to and about the crucifixion, which is why I felt responsible. So the knowledge I gained from the regression really did free me from the guilt and allowed me more opportunities. So as Salome, I did try to preach, but did find that there weren't many who would listen to me. And I died tragically almost 2 years after the death of Jesus, after I was brutally assaulted by Roman soldiers for being disrespectful to them. Going on into my current life, I know I was asked again to try to spread his word, this time as his channel. And how that's supposed to work out is yet to be revealed to me. So this really is just a small snapshot of the details, a small snapshot of my journey and my path. And the details are actually in a book that's going to be released shortly, if not hasn't been already released, by Frank Mayers. And the book is called Transitions. And through this book, Frank has documented my experience along with many other people's experience in greater detail. And he also included the majority of all those channelings. So in October of 2020 is when I moved here to Franklin. I'd had a home here already, and I just felt that the energies here in this area would be much more in tune with what I was trying to do and learn and study. So I am very happy to have found SLC, and I thank you all for listening to my crazy story.